Okay, happy Friday to you guys. You have an 8-problem assignment and it's going to get a little more complicated, okay, today. These equations keep getting more complicated. That's why I'm having you hand in your assignments kind of when you're done so I can check them and see what the next step that we have to take is, if we can move and make them more complicated, or if we have to work on, these for another day. You guys did good with the one step, but here's now as you can see, that looks like a more complicated equation than what you had yesterday. So your job is to find what x equals. So here's the equation: 6 plus 3 times the number x equals negative 18 is what that means. We have to find what number x would be. It's basically asking 3 times what plus 6 would equal negative 18. Now, that's hard to do in your head. I mean, is it 2? Well, 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 plus 6 is 12, so that can't be negative 18. So there has to be some kind of process we can use to figure this out. So the process is this. You're going to circle your equals, and you're going to make a dashed line on whatever side the x is. Okay? Now, x has 2 numbers with it, a 6 and a 3. We need to know what the operations are. By operations, I mean plus, minus, times, divide. What is it? So between 6 and 3, we have a plus sign. Good enough. Between 3 and x, there is no sign, so that means multiplication. Okay? Now, we got to know what to do first. That's the key. Okay? On this side. That's why I'm covering up this number, because all I care about is this side. Now I need to get the x by itself by doing the opposite operation. Okay. So you want to circle the multiplication, the two things that you're multiplying. You're going to want to circle that. Or if you have division, you're going to want to circle the two things that you're dividing. Okay. Here's why I circled that. Because the number not circled, I actually deal with that one first. I have to get that 6. And I'm going to get it to 0. Okay, that's the first step. And then the second step, and we accomplish that by adding and subtracting. The second step, to deal with the 3, we're going to do the opposite of times, because if I see times, I do the opposite, which is to divide. Okay. So again, making that circle, that dot, and then circling what is multiplied, you want to do that. Okay, so let's get our 6 to 0. Well, I'd go backwards 6. I'd subtract 6. Then I go to the number over here and subtract 6. So I know 6 minus 6 can be crossed out. Now I still got 3 times x on this side. On the other side, I take negative 18 minus 6. If you were at a number line, negative 18, and you went backwards 6, you'd be at negative 24. Okay. Then the 3, well, we're going to divide by 3. So I underline, put 3, and underline, put 3. Remember, we do division with underline, because remember, a times 3, a divide by 3 can be crossed out then. So I have x, and then negative 24 divided by 3 is negative 8. And that's your answer. Alright, now, you can always check your answer, you don't have to, but the original equation said 6 plus 3 times x equals negative 18. Well, I think x is negative 8, okay? Okay, so let's see what let's see what 6 plus 3 times negative 8 would be. Okay? Negative 18, so I did it right. So there's your answer, negative 8. Okay, that's the next problem. Negative 3 plus 5x equals 12. So you circle your equals, you make the wall, so you have 2 numbers on this side here in this assignment. You always have 2 numbers. So make sure you know what the operations are. So we have negative 3 and 5 with a plus, and then 5 and x means times. If you have times or divide, you want to circle the 2 numbers, the 2 things, they're not 2 numbers, but the 2 things that are times, the 5 and the x. So I need to get that outside number. I have to deal with that first. So I'm going to get the negative 3 to a 0. Okay. Then the second step, I deal with the 5. If it's 5 times x, we do the opposite, which is divide. Okay, if I see times operation, to solve it I divide. So get -3 to 0. Now to get a negative to 0 you add 3. And then you go under the 12 and add 3. So here we have 5 times x. 12 plus 3 is going to be 15. Okay, so step 1 is done. Okay, then we divide by 5. Okay, so those can cancel, and x 15 divided by 5 is 3. Now to check your answer, the original equation said -3 plus 5 times x equals 12. Well, I think x is 3. Okay, so 5 times 3 is 15, and then -3 plus 15 gives me 12. Okay, so 12 is right. Okay, next problem. There's the x, that's the side the x is on. It has 2 numbers with it. Okay, what are the operations? Well, it's times 7 plus 12. So again, you want, if you have times, okay, you want to circle the 2 things that the times is between, 7 times x. So that means this 12 right here. First we take that 12 to a 0. Then after I'm done with that, I'm going to divide by 7. Okay, so 7 you would divide. So take your 12 to a 0. So you would subtract 12. Then you would minus 12 from -23. So I have 7 times x. And then -23 minus 12 would be -35. Okay, so 12 to 0 has been accomplished. Now I just need to then divide by 7, and then the x will be by itself. Divide by 7. So I have equals x, -35 divided by 7 is -5. Okay, to check your answer, the original equation was 7 times x plus 12 equals -23. So I think that x is -5. So I take 7 times -5, that's -35, and then I add 12 to -35. -23. Next problem. So x is on this side. Now there's 2 numbers, a 6 and a 3. So we have divided with the 6 and minus with the 3. Make the minus a plus negative. Okay, you want that, turn that to addition. So there's 2 numbers. Now, like with multiplication, when I circled the 2 things that were being multiplied, you want to circle the 2 things that are being divided. Okay, so we deal with the -3 first. Okay, the outside of the circle, you deal with that first. So step 1, you get your -3 to 0. Okay, on this side. Step 2, how are we going to deal with the 6? Now to solve a division, we do the opposite, which is times. Okay. Okay, Nick, get your -3 to 0. You would plus 3, plus 3. So 8 plus 3 is 11, and we still have x divided by 6. Then, to solve division equations where x is divided, we times. Okay, so times, times. So 6 and 6. So we know that times 6 divided by 6, those operations cancel. And 11 times 6 is 66. So let's check our answer. X divided by 6 plus -3 equals 8. So I think x is 66. So I would take 66 divided by 6, that would give me 11. And then I would take 11 plus -3. Okay, that would be 8. So 8 matches up with the 8. Okay, next problem. 13 equals 8 minus 5x, okay? So this time x is over here. That's okay. There's 2 numbers with it. What are the operations? So 8 and 5, there's a minus, but we'll make that plus negative. And the 5 and the x, there's a times, okay? So again, if you have times or division, you want to circle the 2 things that are being times or divided. In this case, -5 times x. Okay, so I deal with the 8 first. Again, we get that to 0. Then, how am I going to deal with the -5? Well, if I see a multiplication and I have to solve it, I'm going to do the times and solve it. I'm going to divide. Okay. So get your 8 to 0. You're going to minus 8, and then minus 8 from the 13. Go to the other side of the wall. 13 minus 8 is 5, and then we have negative 5 times x. So that step is done. Now remember, we're going to divide by the negative 5. So that the times negative 5 and divide by negative 5, then I divide the other side by negative 5. So we have x. 5 divided by negative 5 would be negative 1. So negative 1 equals x. To check your answer, the original equation said 13 equals 8 plus negative 5 times x. So I would replace the x with negative 1. Then I would take negative 5 times negative 1. Well, that's positive 5. And then 8 plus 5 is 13. Okay, so that's right. Okay, next one. X is over here. What are the two the value of the equation is equal to this value of this expression is 34. You got to find what x would be to make that 34. So what are the actual operations? 16 and 3 is minus, which means plus negative. 3 and x would be multiplication. Now, if you have multiplication or division, you want to circle the two things that you're multiplying or dividing. In this case, negative 3 times x. Okay, so I do the outside first, the outside number. Okay, so 16 to 0. Since 16 isn't times or divided by anything, okay, we get that to 0. Then the negative 3, since it's times, we need to divide. So how do you take a 16 to 0? You minus 16. And then you go to the number over here and minus 16. So this 34 minus 16 is 18. I still got negative 3 multiplied by x. So I got rid of one operation. Now I have to get rid of the second. I already know how I'm going to do that. I'm going to divide by negative 3. Because that will cancel that operation. And then 18 divided by negative 3 is negative 6. Okay, check your answer. 16 plus negative 3 times x equals 34. So x is negative 6. Negative 3 times negative 6 is 8. So it would be 16 plus 8. And that equals 30. No, that's 18, my bad. 16 plus 18 then is 34. You don't have to do this checking. I'm just showing you how this works. Okay, next one. 15 plus x divided by 6. So two numbers, 15 and 6. 15's plus, x is divided by 6. So when you have divided by, you want to circle the two things that are divided. So we take the 15 to 0. Then the 6. Well, since it's divided by, to solve divided by equations, we times. Okay, so 15 to 0 minus 15 minus 15. So we have x divided by 6. Negative 21 minus 15 is going to be negative 36. Okay, then you times 6. So times 6, 6. Okay, those cancel and we have x. Negative 36 times 6 is negative 216. Okay, so to check it, it would be 15 plus x divided by 6 equals negative 21. So I think my x answer is negative 216. So let's divide that first. Okay, negative 36. And then add 15 to negative 36 and it's negative 21. Okay. Next problem, negative 19 plus x divided by 3 equals 8. Okay, so here's a wall. You got two numbers on this side, negative 19 and 3. Okay, so that's plus and that's divided by. So divided by comes before plus, so you want to circle that, but you actually do them the opposite, the outside number. When you're circling, you circle the operation that's done first, okay, when you have two different operations. But when I solve it, I actually take that number to 0. So negative 19 has to go to 0 on that side. And then the 3, now if I have division, I'm going to multiply. Okay, so negative 19 to 0 would be plus 19, not plus negative 19, plus 19, because that takes that to 0. Then I add 19 to 8, so that's 27. You get x divided by 3. Okay, then times 3. So times on each side times 3 times the other side by 3. So 27 times 3 is 81. Okay, so we now have negative 19 plus x divided by that. This was the original problem. Now I think my x is 81. So I do my division first. 81 divided by 3 is 27. And then negative 19 plus 27 should be 8. Okay, it is. You don't have to do that second part if you don't feel it's necessary. Okay, now if you get this, you can cross out these examples. Okay, this page with the 2x plus 3 equals 15. This page here, okay, and you can go work on 1 through 8. Okay, so again, equals, the x is here with a plus and a times, so you want to circle the operation that comes first, but we take that to 0, then we divide, after that we divide by 8.